Kia ora, nau mai ki te whare. Welcome to the House, ko Louis Collins aho. If you were at the polling booth last election and thought to yourself, gee, it feels like just yesterday I was voting in the last one, you might be pleased to hear that the government has introduced a bill that seeks to extend the 3-year term to a 4-year one via a referendum on the change. New Zealand is one of just a few parliaments around the world that has a 3-year term. The main argument behind it is that 3 years is a short enough time to be a safeguard against destructive policy, with the public being able to simply vote out a government if they don't like it. The
term of Parliament enabling 4-year term legislation amendment bill,
although in the name of National's Paul Goldsmith, is a product of coalition negotiations with ACT. However, this particular attempt at constitutional reform isn't as simple as just adding a year to the tenure of governments. Here's Paul Goldsmith explaining the caveat during the bill's first reading.
Under this bill, the standard maximum term of Parliament will remain 3 years, with the potential to extend the term of Parliament to 4 years at the start of each parliamentary term if a specific condition is met. The specific condition is that the membership of a subject select committee is proportionate to the non-executive party membership of the House. In effect, the bill creates a variable term of Parliament.
Now, a lot of people tune out at the mention of constitutional reform, and understandably so. It can be quite a dry, esoteric subject. In a nutshell, though, the status quo of Parliament's subject select committees is that they have proportionality with the makeup of the House, meaning there are generally more government MPs than opposition MPs on each committee. This bill would reverse that should an incoming government want to govern for 4 years, meaning that select committees have to be opposition-dominated. Here's Labour's Duncan Webb.
A clean question is a good question, and if the question is 4 years or 3 years, yes or no, that's a question that's very easy to communicate and to discuss. Whereas talking about whether, and it's pretty arcane stuff to ordinary New Zealanders, whether there should, how many seats on select committee an opposition party should have, that's not something that's going to be very exciting. Hey, it might be a good idea, but we're not sure that the two things need to be closely linked.
ACT leader David Seymour, and one of the bill's designers, is obviously a big advocate for a 4-year term, but he said this about it on Wednesday.
And I want to start by conceding that I suspect we're on a hiding for nothing when this bill goes to referendum. And the simple reason is that this is a time when around the world people's trust in politicians is in decline, and yet what people will see is politicians asking to be trusted for an extra year. I think that's why it's on a hiding to nothing, but I'm proud to be supporting it, and I'm proud to have had some involvement in the creation of this bill, because I believe it is the right thing to do for New Zealand. And I'm thinking about a time when I'm not a politician, perhaps when the voters have retired me, and I'll be living my life, and I would rather live in a New Zealand with a longer parliamentary term. And the simplest reason for that is that I believe we need more stability. We're an outlier globally. There's about 180 countries that have some form of parliament. We're one of 9 that has a 3-year electoral term.
Te Pāti Māori co-leader, Rawiri Waititi, didn't exactly hold back on his party's opposition to the bill.
Now, I'll tell you what, it has been 3 terms for a government over the last few governments. 9 years. You add 4 years, that's 12 years of terrorising our people. Absolutely not. And I tell you what, it's bigger. The agenda is bigger. There's a global agenda happening here. The Treaty of Waitangi Principles Bill was about removing Te Tiriti o Waitangi to allow international corporations and corporate greed into this country. And I tell you what, for a 4-year term will allow a government to run rampant over our people. And let's just put it out there. Let's just put it out there. Let's go out and look at the ongoing world issues at the moment. And I hear, just in some of the speeches, the Americanizing of our country, states, all of those types of, that type of speak, trumping making our country like a Trump-type nation.
Te Pāti Māori were the only party to oppose the bill, but National and New Zealand First support is not guaranteed at second reading as per coalition agreements, and Labour and the Greens will likely wait and see how the bill develops. In any case, the Justice Committee is now taking submissions on the bill and will report back to the House by September this year. E te whakarongo koe ki te whare. You've been listening to The House, a program made with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mātua.